Now that Coach Henny and Coach Nua got what they wanted, what else does Santa need to leave under USC's Christmas tree?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching this show on YouTube, wherever you are downloading your podcast, it's always free. And I always appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Now that USC's defensive line is fully stocked from end to end, there's depth. Look, on the outside, Anthony Lucas, Braylon Shelby, Cameron Fountain, Lorenzo Cowan. On the way, you're bringing in Thanos, Jakeem Stewart. For the time being, I'm slotting him on the side at the, I'll say strong side defensive end. I think that's where they're going to start him. You also are bringing in ends Gus Cordova, Cash Jacobson, Nila Topu. Tupou is listed as an edge player. Now, of course, a couple of those guys could probably slide inside. Thanos, I think Cash Jacobson is probably a candidate as well. Eventually, get some size on him. And then now you got guys with serious size inside on the interior to match up with everything. Now your defensive line is complete. USC has Kobe Pepe, Jade Abasiri, Devin Tompkins, Carlon Jones, Ratumana Bulabalabu, walk-on Cash Amos. Those guys are on the roster. And then in this recruiting class, you're bringing in defensive tackle Floyd Boucard. Just recently, Santa dropped down USC's chimney down in the Heritage Hall, McKay Center, one of those buildings. 700 pounds. Keyshawn Silver, Jamal Jarrett. Look, I don't think they're done. Not quite yet. We'll see what happens. I know there's another guy out there that they're really hot and heavy about. Transfer portal closes on the 28th, so we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I think the defensive line, you could go into the season and say, all right, we got what we need. Are there any elite players there? Potentially. I think Anthony Lucas and Cameron Fountain and definitely Braylon Shelby have the potential to be elite on the outside. Thanos, Jakeem Stewart, better be elite. I have a feeling he is. So we'll see what happens. But what do we want now? Okay. So let's pretend, USC fans, that you're spoiled. Never heard that one before, right? Pretend you're Veruca Salt, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The holidays. And you just I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. I can think of 3 position groups. I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball. USC still needs a middle linebacker, a presence, someone in the middle. I think USC is okay on the outside, at that weak side linebacker position. But yeah, I think USC needs a thumper in the middle of that front 7 somewhere. Here's the challenge. High demand, low supply. Not to mention, and we're going to talk about this more in the next segment, USC is still waiting for Antonlynn to name Matt Entz's replacement at the linebacker coach. There's not a lot of names in the transfer portal either. If USC is if you're looking for a big-time name, big splashing name that USC can bring in at the linebacker spot, I went and checked. Not a lot of availability. So I did notice that Julian Simon was back in the transfer portal. Interesting. I know he was at Tulsa. Then he transferred to Connecticut. Now he's back in the transfer portal. I did recognize the name Brennan Scott. He was a senior at UNLV this past season, 6'1", 225 pounds. Dude had all the SEC offers coming out of high school. Played his ball in Texas, Dallas area. So I'm not sure what's going on with who USC is looking at the linebacker spot as far as players. I'm thinking USC might have to wait for the late arrival guys to jump in. I know the official portal closes on the 28th, but if you're in the playoffs, those guys get an extra 5 days after it closes. So we'll see. Otherwise, you got to wait for that spring transfer portal window to open in April. Remember, USC's lone linebacker in the class, 2025, Matai Tagovailoa. He's good, but he's not a middle linebacker. At least not yet. This is USC's current roster. Linebackers: Eric Gentry, Desmond Stevens II, Elijah Newby, Jaden Walker, Garrison Madden. You got Matt Galvan, Quentin Nar, Ryan, and friend of the show, Roman Marchetti. So we'll see what they do there. I think USC is going to go get one, possibly two. You got to get somebody in that middle linebacker spot. As far as critical needs, I think that's it on the defensive side of the ball. Kamari Ramsey returning to that very young safety room. Perfect. Now you've got a good balance. Maybe one more experienced cornerback to go with DJ Harvey. Now, DeCarlos Nicholson, he might be that guy. Got some really good news. Got that ruling from I think it was one federal appeals court, one court ruled that Vanderbilt's quarterback Diego Pavia, he went to court saying, "Look, my eligibility clock should not start when I was in a JC school. So if you're playing junior college ball, you shouldn't be negatively affected once you finally get to, the D1 level, the 4-year schools." So since Diego is getting a reprieve, it looks like DeCarlos is going to get one as well. Now, on the other side of the ball, no more tight ends. We're good there. On offense, I think the obvious answer is quarterback. You got to go find somebody who's going to be able to compete with Jaden Mayava and Husan Longstreet, who is already practicing with the team. Yeah, you never know. You never know. Can you see him playing in the bowl game? Getting, one play here, one play there, just to kind of run him out on the field? We'll find out. I think you're set at running back now with Eli Sanders. He took care of that need. My concern is the pass protection from the group. You've got Amarian Peterson and Brian Jackson. Those are the two returnees. Remember, Quentin Joyner, he's now a Texas Tech Red Raider. Woody Marks is getting ready for the NFL. And Eli Sanders isn't going to be here available for this game. And you've got a couple of freshmen coming in January, Harry Dalton and Riley Wormley. So we'll see. Pass protection. Remember, Travis Dye said it. If you want to play running back at USC, no blocky, no rocky. Somebody better pick up the slack there. The offensive line with Emmanuel Prion returning. Obviously now the focus is definitely on probably looking at a center, experienced center somewhere in the transfer portal. And you're also looking at a starting level right tackle. The room is young and there's depth. There's just no experience. And I mentioned, Santa just dropped off, packed 700 pounds into a sack for Coach Henney. You know what? Can he do that for Coach Zach Hansen? Go find a couple of guys. Wide receivers, I think, is interesting. Coach Riley chose Jacoby Lane and Makai Lemon over Deuce Robinson and Zachariah Branch. So those are your for sure number one guys. Those are your two number 1A, 1B wide receivers. You guys, you can slot them however you want. Jay Fair will be a senior next year, so there's a slot guy. He came over from Auburn, but he was playing behind Branch and Makai. Xavier Jordan, he'll be featured in this bowl game. Watch for Josiah Zamora. He's a redshirt junior. Shifty, hard to cover. He was the walk-on from Mater Dei who earned a scholarship this year. I want to talk about 5 guys in the third segment of the show. He may or may not be one of those guys, so stick around. So those are the 5 guys coming back. And then you've got the rookies that'll be showing up. You've got Romero Eisen, Corey Sims, Tanu Kynes, James Johnson. Do you need another receiver out of the transfer portal? Numbers-wise, I think USC's fine. In fact, I think they're great. But if there's a position where, look, if there is a position where a freshman can come in and carve out a role, it's definitely wide receiver and running back. So I don't know if Riley's going to grab another wide receiver out of the transfer portal. I don't anticipate it being a big splashy name, 5-star. Don't anticipate a big NIL guy because, I'll use the term salary cap issues. If USC wasn't going to pay Zachariah and Deuce, why are they going to pay a transfer to come in? Let's just use some common sense. Excuse me. Let's think about this rationally. So I think if we're asking, well, what is Coach Riley's biggest Christmas wish this holiday season? I think he probably wants Santa to find him a sugar daddy to write a check for NIL. Go find him a Phil Knight type of donor, someone who just has a whole bunch of screw you money in his back pocket that he just wants to waste. Something like that. USC has those guys. They just need to pry open that checkbook somehow. All right. Next segment, we're going to be find out what's taking so long. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways to pick up a W. You want to get a win? Go to FanDuel. Not only can you bet on who's going to win the game, but FanDuel also does prop bets. You want to say which players are going to score a touchdown? Guess what? FanDuel.com. How many points will each team score? FanDuel.com. And they got more than that you can do. Just visit FanDuel.com. Join today, the FanDuel.com, for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. All you got to do is win your first $5 bet. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. USC's next linebacker coach will be fill in the blank. I have no idea. Yeah, USC's still in the hunt for to replace Matt Entz. A couple of weeks ago, someone sent me a message, said, "Hey, Mark, keep an eye on this name, Robert Bala. If you're an everyday listener, watcher of this show, you've heard me talk about this. Right now, he's the inside linebacker coach for the University of Washington Huskies. Look, if he was going to be the guy, I'll just say it, he'd be the guy already. I don't think Lincoln Riley and Antonlynn would be waiting if they had their sights set on young Robert Bala, who's going to be really good in this coaching industry, but I don't think he's the guy right now. And while Bryson Allen Williams is holding down the fort, and he played a very key, significant role in Keyshawn Silver's transfer portal move coming to USC, Bryson Allen Williams was on North Carolina's staff when Keyshawn originally committed to those guys. Look, if he was going to be the linebacker coach, Coach Riley would have made the announcement already. I just feel really strongly about that. Doesn't mean he's not going to be a good coach. He's just not going to be the guy this time around. I think my everydayers know where I stand on this. I've talked about it before, and I think I even mentioned it on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC. Coach Lynn already knows who it is, and he's still coaching. And I think he's in the NFL. And I'll explain to you why. But first, I want to throw out some more names. One of my YouTube watchers, his name is Aaron Chang. He mentioned this name, and it makes a lot of sense. If we're going to a linebacker coach out of the NFL, we should hire Navarro Bowman. He's currently the linebacker coach for the LA Chargers. And he believes, and I think he's correct, that he was a teammate of Antonlynn at Penn State. So it makes sense. I love the suggestion, but here's the thing. And I know I said but, so I'm going to kind of contradict why it might not be the guy, or why you might have to wait a little bit longer to find out. The Chargers, they're in the middle of a playoff hunt right now. I mean, do you want to wait for that? Do you want to wait for the Chargers playoff season to end before somebody makes the official announcement? As of right now, the Chargers, I think, the 6th seed, and they're going to secure their spot for sure. If they beat New England this upcoming weekend, and they don't beat a really bad New England team, they suck. They got like 3 wins. They'll get it the following weekend when they play out in Las Vegas. Another team that sucks. So, is Navarro Bowman the guy? Could be. I like the suggestion. You're going to have to wait for the Chargers season to end. If you want a California guy who knows the terrain, and the kids are going to respect the hell out of this guy, I've mentioned the name before. Everybody's mentioned the name before. Just hire Chris Claiborne, for crying out loud. Why isn't number 55 the linebacker coach already? Seriously. Chris Claiborne. He began his coaching career as a high school coach, head coach at Calabasas. And then he came over to USC in 2020. He was a quality control analyst. And then Herm Edwards hired him at Arizona State. That was supposed to be the next step in coming back and being USC's linebacker coach. We all know Herm Edwards and Arizona State got that program in trouble. So after he left Tempe, he moved on over to the United Football League, and that's where he's coaching now, the linebackers with the St. Louis Battlehawks. Get him back on the coaching staff somehow, please. What's Ken Norton Jr. doing right now? Remember him? He used to coach linebackers at USC back in the day for Carroll. Right now, he's the linebackers coach for the Washington Redskins, Commanders, whatever we're calling them. Does he want to come back to college, though? Does he want to be at USC again? Again, the Redskins, they're in the playoff chase. You're going to have to wait. Here's another guy who knows USC, who understands California, played at USC, Michael Hutchings. Right now, he is an assistant with the Minnesota Vikings. But before that, he's getting his toes wet, and he's dived into the pool. He was a coach at Western Kentucky, Oregon of all places, USC from 2018 to 2020. He got his coaching career started at USC as a grad assistant. And then he eventually moved up to quality control. He might be the guy. But again, he's with the NFL team right now. Minnesota in the playoff chase. Is he the guy? A couple of weeks ago, after one of USC's practices, Coach Riley said this, quote, "We're hustling, but we're not in a hurry. We have a little bit of time here leading up into our prep, obviously, so we've had a chance to work on it. Not surprisingly, we've got a pretty fun candidate list, and I think it has a chance to really come and make a great impact. So it's starting to be able to have some of those more in-depth interviews and visits with those guys. And I think it helps us, maybe even some this year, after being in a year in this defense, a year with Coach Lynn, seeing the rest of the staff that we have around it. I think it probably gives us a better idea as opposed to kind of putting it together from scratch like we did last year. All right, here's the other skill sets in the room. How can we find the best and most complementary piece? So it's been exciting to kind of take a deep dive into that, and obviously is striving to find the best person for it, end quote. Coach Riley, when he talks, he's answering the question and he kind of floats into this rhetorical, let me talk and narrate, and it's like, it's really hard to follow. So to those of you who understand it, great. Reading verbatim when Coach Riley is being quoted, it sucks. It's not one of the more fun things for me to do. And let me just say this. Graham Harrell, he said 1,000 words when he answered a question, and he never said anything. That answer right there from Coach Riley, a lot of words. But what did he really say? Well, we learned who we worked with this year, and now we know what kind of coach we want to work with in the future. But we're in a hurry, but we're not being too quick. Okay. Again, for those of you who think I hate Coach Riley, I don't. Just get off that track. But sometimes he takes coach speak to just a level of what? What did you say? I mean, he even butchered John Wooden's quote. He tried to say, be quick, but don't hurry. Anyways, I understand the premise where he was going with that. We want to make sure we're getting the right guy. What's taking so long? It's a linebacker coach. Like I said, look. So when does quick actually come to an end? I mean, the job's been open for a while now, since what, December 3rd and 4th, day before the transfer portal opened? Here's my thought. Even if the candidate is employed, if it's an NFL dude, name him. Let him show up when the season ends. That's fine. Generate some enthusiasm. And look, if he's a college guy still coaching, he's in the playoffs, bowl game, whatever. I get it. Sort of. We're not talking about a coordinator position. And I'm not trying to downgrade the linebacking coaching job. But it shouldn't be taking this long. And when you need to get somebody out of the transfer portal because it's a position of need, probably best to have somebody in place to develop that guy. For all I know, Coach Riley, Coach Lynn, they're telling guys this is who it's going to be. Don't say anything. But if that was the case, I don't know, wouldn't somebody in the transfer portal be jumping into USC's, roster? All right. There we go. That's your update on the linebacker coach. What's taking so long? All right, we've got one more segment to go. Some guys to talk about to watch in the Las Vegas Bowl. When was the last time you went to any live event? Are you going to the Vegas Bowl? Do you have tickets? You still have time to get tickets. Been to a comedy show? NBA game? It's here. Game Time is the place to get tickets. Best price. In fact, it's guaranteed. And you always know you're going to get the best seat and the best price. And you're going to know what it looks like before you check out. Game Time has a couple of features I really dig. Number one, it's called Game Time Picks. Filters out all the fluff. It's only going to show you the best tickets at the best price. And they also have a view from your seat feature. So you can click on it and it'll show you, all right, if you're sitting here, this is what it's going to look like. So you actually know what your view is going to look like before you check out. There's no risk. Now, if you find a ticket in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will actually credit you 110% of the difference. Again, zero risk, guaranteed. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right. Let's do you have any players you want to look out for in the Vegas Bowl against Texas A&M? I got a few. I got a handful. I'm going to go over 5 or 6. These are the players in the bowl game that I think are going to get a great opportunity to show their stuff. Kind of help Coach Riley determine what's in the room, so to speak. As far as the wide receivers, all right, Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon, those are going to be the featured wide receivers. DJ Jordan, Xavier, He's part of the future. He is going to be featured in this game. But I want you to look out for these two guys. Jay Fair, who will be a senior in 2025. Josiah Zamora, I mentioned him earlier in the show. I think both those guys are going to see a bunch of targets in this game. Just a feeling I got. Josiah earned a scholarship. Jay Fair, I mentioned earlier, he's playing behind Zachariah and Mackay. You've now removed Zachariah from the roster. More opportunities. And now that Jaden Mayaba has he's been getting the starters reps for 2 months. I guess we'll find out who he's most comfortable with as far as those wide receivers. We're going to see who he's developed a relationship with. As far as Jay Fair, in 2 years at Auburn, he had 33 catches, 358 yards. He averaged about 11 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. 23 games, he started 6 times. This year at USC, after he transferred in, 8 catches, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. Look, he's going to be a senior next year. If he's not more involved in this game, is he going to stick around? I mean, again, not having as many guys in front of him, that might help. But you still got Mackay. You still got DJ Jordan. You got to get out there and compete. Go win the job. This might be a game where he gets featured a lot. I mentioned Josiah. In 2023, he had 2 catches for 11 yards. He got a scholarship this season. Can't find any stats on him. Just know this. He is one of those guys you want in your locker room. And if you throw him the ball, he'll catch it. Promise. It's going to happen. We'll see if Lincoln Riley is true to his word where some guy starts out as a walk-on and all of a sudden he becomes, one of the guys. Give him a chance. Bowl game's a perfect opportunity. Here's another position. Now that Mason Murphy is on the plains in Auburn, Tobias Raymond has a chance. Lock up that right tackle spot. He is starting. I know he's been waiting for this chance. Now, look, the world is his oyster. By the end of the regular season, I was told he was part of the 6-man rotation. That's how far he's moved up the ladder. Let's stick on the offensive line. When Emmanuel Prayon isn't playing, the other guy who's been getting reps with the ones as they're prepping for the bowl game is Micah Banuelos at left guard. I want to see him playing in the game with more than 2 minutes left. Okay? This isn't just about pass protection. How well do these guys run block? Okay, and then finally, last player I'm going to have my eye on in this game, Braylon Conley. Assuming he's playing, I'm going to assume he's going to be playing a lot in this game, especially with Jacoby Covington moving on. Jalen Smith is moving on, both those guys. They might play in this game. I haven't really heard, haven't really asked either. But I don't anticipate any of those experienced guys who are moving on to play a whole bunch. I do think we're going to see a lot of these younger players. And I'm looking forward to Braylon playing during meaningful minutes, not just the end of the game in garbage time. I think he can be one of those guys. I mentioned to Carlos Nicholson earlier that ruling came down that his eligibility clock shouldn't be started yet. So if Vandy's quarterback Diego Pavia is getting another chance, I believe DeCarlos is going to as well. And then this is a little bit of a cheat. My last 2 players, it's the position itself, actually. But I want to see them on the field at the same time. I want to see Eric Gentry and Desmond Stevens play together. I mean, that's a lot of athleticism at the linebacker spot. So I haven't seen Eric Gentry play since, I don't know, it's been a while. When did he get hurt? Remember which game? He missed, the last 6-7 games at least. So he's back. He'll be playing in this game. I want to see him and Desmond Stevens. I want to see a lot of Desmond Stevens. I want to see all of those young linebackers. But specifically, what's going on in the middle? Is Mason playing? Is Easton playing? So who's taking over? What I know is that's the end of this episode. I'll be back with another episode tomorrow. It'll be Christmas Eve. I have some Christmas wishes for everybody. I want to say thank you to everybody who's made Locked on USC. They're part of their family. Thank you very much. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, click that red subscribe button. If you haven't done it yet, smash that thumbs up. Pretend you're the Hulk. And then hit that bell notification button. That way you don't miss an episode. And I will keep you updated on everything. And yes, we will start talking about basketball soon, very soon. It's not that I don't want to, as I get feedback. And let's just finish up the football season. And we'll dive head on into basketball. Coach Muss's team has won 4 in a row. The women are on a roll. They won at UConn. Big win there. So a lot of stuff coming up. Till the next episode, everyone, you know what to do.